Hi, and welcome to the garden again. It's getting warmer. We're being able to sort of think about planting some new seeds in the garden and actually having them survive, which will be kind of fun. What I want to talk about today, it is my goal from today, which you should see this Saturday evening, between now and Thursday when I'll be on Lilac Lantern, so I won't have a show at 7 o'clock. Somehow competing with myself seems a little redundant. I'm going to take you through some basics on crystals, and people have asked me, how do you build a crystal grid? So I'm going to take you through the basic steps of building a crystal grid this week, because I'm building a special one for a friend of mine named Alma, who is such a sweetie pie that she invented this t-shirt for me, and it says Woo Woo Crew. I really like it. She took my symbol of the dragonfly and combined it with the symbol of the heart chakra, and came up with this wonderful little logo that I'm going to use as a logo now. And she's a lovely lady, and she deserves a special gift for having done that for me. So I'm going to take you through the basics I think you need to know about the basic chakra colors in crystals, because I use that a lot in the sacred geometry activation oracle cards that I use to create my grids. I find that color code helps me a great deal. So we are going to go through the chakras, and I have a little show and tell down here of some crystals I kind of like to relate to the different chakras. And for those of you who have not figured this out yet, and maybe you haven't because you haven't thought about the chakras enough to care, the chakras follow the rainbow. They go red, orange, yellow, blue, green, violet, and light blue at the top. Just like the rainbow. And I don't know if you guys in art class, we learned rainbow was Roy G. Biv. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. And Roy G. Biv is also the chakra color. So, and they seem to tie together. When a lot of times when I was first building grids, I hadn't been in the books long enough and looked at enough. I was just sort of instinctively putting things together. And it's kind of fun to do that, because guess what? Your instincts are often very, very, very right, and you can do the right thing. So I'm going to take you down to look at the stones, and it's just going to be a quick trip because the next few days I'm going to spend a little more time with you. I don't want any of these to be too long, so the way I've planned it now, it takes 3 lessons to do this grid. It may take 4. I don't know. Once I get into things, you know me, I get off on a story and things happen. Anyway, we're going to the rocks first. Okay. Now, if you don't know about much about the sacral, much about the chakras, sometimes just if you go to some of those meditations, they're all over the place on YouTube, about cleansing your chakras or knowing your chakras. And they're really kind of interesting. They're very relaxing. And it's a good place to kind of get introduced to this if this is not something you're familiar with. If you're extremely familiar with yoga, you're going to go, God, she didn't give enough detail about that. Well, this is for people who don't know anything about this stuff, or don't know a lot. Try and guide them to how to make choices for themselves. So, root chakra. Root chakra is I am. It's I exist now, I'm here. It's red, and I use red jasper, almost always red jasper. Such a beautiful red, such an earthy red, that it works really well for feelings and for the energy of that chakra. The other thing you can use is black tourmaline. This little bitty piece of it. It's an incredibly strong grounding rock. When you just touch those, you know your energy is being pulled into a center, and it's really important. This is the sacral chakra. Sacral chakra is orange, and it's a blend between the red and the yellow where you're going, but it's orange, and it's I create. That's, if you're going to put it into 2 words, it's the I create chakra. Then the yellow is the solar plexus, and the solar plexus I wrote my notes down. I share. This is where you take who you are and what you want to create, and you begin to bring it into the world, and you share it with the world, and you bring it out into the world. And this is the image I have of the solar plexus that always sort of reminds me of what it does. I always think of it like a little solar system underneath your rib cage that's spinning around and spinning out bright yellow energy that draws what you are and what you've created up towards your heart, because your heart is where I share goes to I love. And I love is green. It's green citrine here, and this is moss agate. And I think moss agate, you can see it, it's green, but it's got flashes of light in it, flashes of white in it. I really like that as a stone for the heart chakra feelings. And then, so now I create, I share, I love, and this is your communication. This is the throat chakra. And I have a really pretty lapis lazuli. That's a nice one. And then I have a piece of blue adventurine, which is a softer version of the I communicate. So now you exist, you create, you share, you love, you speak about it, but then you get to the third eye chakra. This is the one that is located between your eyebrows, just a little bit above between your eyebrows. And this is a really pretty piece of lepidolite, which is a wonderful opening stone that connects to the third eye chakra. But the traditional stone for the third eye chakra is, sorry about the dog, can't do much about it. My daughter's home from work because the weather's crappy, is amethyst. And that's why when I told people, I'm trying to get this focus on, when I told people to not put pointed amethysts in their bedrooms, amethyst points, it's because this fires up your third eye. Now you could put a smooth piece or a piece like this that doesn't have like a specific point. That would be fine for relaxing you. Also, amethyst geodes, because geodes are a much more sharing kind of energy in a crystal. So you might want to think about that when you're thinking about your stones. So now we know, now we are to the third eye, I see. And then this is the crown chakra. This is the big guy. And this is the one at the very, very top. And this is a beautiful piece of selenite that is clear and white. Some people, doesn't have to be clear and white to be there. A lot of people like a light violet, a fairy stone, or something like celestite that's a light blue for the crown chakra. But it all depends on what you want. With the crown chakra, I've done ice calcite. I've done everything that, a stone that looked like clarity to bring that forth. Now, shape. Rounded stones, I use a lot in my grids. They're a very sharing energy. The energy that's in them moves around. I also use a lot of calcite because I like the planes that are on the calcite, and I think it brings a different kind of an energy to it. So these ones would be more that were planes and had that kind of energy to them. So that's the world's fastest tutorial on the chakras and chakra colors. And you're going to see how it fits with compassion, because if you've been following on my channel, I've done a bit about astrology and a lot on numerology. A lot of numerology and the sacred geometry. A lot of it is form. And I will explain to you what all those numbers mean. When compassion has 4s, it has 6s, it has a 3, because when compassion is an energy of emerging care. So it's going to have the action of a odd number, but the solidity of the even numbers, the settling of the even numbers. So look forward to you coming along on the trip for compassion. It'll be the next 3 nights after tonight. And I look forward to guiding you through that. If you have a specific question about grid building you'd like to ask me, now would be the time to put it in the questions, because I'm going to be talking about grid building and about my understanding of how I put it together. I read people's books about how to put them together, and they didn't make a lot of sense to me. So I just went ahead and very arrogantly built my own, because I think we all know a lot more than we give ourselves credit for. And that ended up being the truth. I found one that worked wonderfully for me. So I'm looking forward to your comments. Remember, I never do this enough, but please subscribe and share and like my programs, because that helps me with YouTube. And I'm at that funny place where there's some things I can do in YouTube and other things I can't. And I want to thank all the people who've contacted me for readings, contacted me for grids. Enough of you did that I had to hire my daughter to be my administrator and handle all the paperwork, because I couldn't do the paperwork and the stones and the grid building. And in the last week, fight the stupid Texas weather, which the weather wasn't stupid, but the government that it fell on top of was. The people who are here are just suffering from that. And that's as political as I'll get about it. But I'm not at all happy about the state I live in right now. And I think it can do so much better. And it's proved it can. A quick story. In Austin, when they ran out of, when their water quit pumping because the electricity screwed up and the pipes broke. And if you follow the stories at all, you know what's happened. My son lives in Austin, and my grandchildren got to spend a one wonderful night in the family tent they built out of every blanket they had in the house, and they all huddled in there together in the dark, in the cold. Not what grandmas want to have happen to their grandchildren. They have gas cooking, and the gas has not stopped, so they could heat things up with the gas stove. But you can't leave a gas stove burning unless you want to burn your house down or die of carbon monoxide poisoning. So then the power came back on, and they were yippee, and then their water was gone. Well, my son is a survivor of typhoons in Guam. That's another long story. But he knew when this all looked like it was going to happen to store up on water, to put food in cold chests so that they didn't have to open up the freezer and stuff. So he had a lot of stuff set, but nobody plans for there to not be water for 2 or 3 days. So it came just down to drinking water. And there's a microbrewery in their neighborhood, and they had tanks and tanks and tanks of distilled water. And they just let everybody in the neighborhood know, bring a container and we'll fill it up. And this is totally potable water. You can drink this. So they reached out and helped. They also want to get rid of their food stores, which were going to rot anyway. So they ended up making giant batches of pretzels and giving those out to the neighborhood. There were some food stores that realized they weren't going to be able to hold on to all their product. They were very generous in helping families out. So the people pulled together, but the structure that's supposed to help the people be able to pull it together was missing. And so I've given a little bit of money to Beto O'Rourke's crew, because they got in the second they realized what was coming and started working, and I know they'll use the money wisely. But I think it's time. Our legislature is sitting right now. Texas only sits for 100 days. But between now and June, to figure out how to not have this happen again. And they had a time 10 years ago, I sat through a blizzard here, and they hadn't learned a damn thing. So I have light and I have water and I am comfortable, but pray for all the people who don't, and pray for all the people who are going to spend months, if not years, recovering from what's just happened here. And don't blame the people of Texas. They're not stupid. We just have legislatures that lie through their teeth and don't do what they're supposed to do. So pray for wisdom to come towards this state. It's going to be a hard push, but I hope you can pray for it. Anyway, thank you very much. And I will be building grids starting tomorrow. Look forward to seeing you then. Bye.